So, fun fact about me, as of the recording of this video, I am currently single. And I do think it would be cool to set sail out to adventurous seas to seek out, the love of my life and find a way to whisk her onto a world of adventure. What I don't think would be cool is kidnapping people. I can't. Well, this is weird because this chapter kind of raised some points for Rocks of all people for me and lowered some points for Roger. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a very interesting chapter for us. So, hello Internet, I am the hero of Julios once again with another One Piece chapter summary. This week's chapter is chapter 1156, Idols. This week's chapter's art features Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji. In the background, you see Roger, Rayleigh, and Gaban in comparison to the three of them. You'll also notice a little next to Luffy is Nami. Now, I will openly admit, my immediate first thought was, wait, if Nami's there, and the other three are here, and their counterparts in Roger's crew are there, I immediately started searching for Rouge. I was like, okay, is Rouge somewhere on here? Is Oda confirming what I think he's confirming? And as I was searching, that's when I noticed the rest of the crew is shrunk down and on Luffy, kind of like just like little accessories and stuff. So it's the whole crew. The whole crew's there. Definitely not overthinking from a fandom perspective here. Regardless, though, it's actually really nice art. I like the coloration of it. I like the way the crew is kind of miniatured across Luffy. But yeah, it's just another color spread, just kind of a break from our usual chapters that we get. So, well, we will have to find out later what happens in Yamato's adventure. So the chapter itself starts off with a narration regarding a legendary pirate crew known throughout the seas for its ability to just kind of get away with whatever it wants. The reason for this is because the men of the sea literally just let them. Other pirate crews just let them go by. The men of the Marines just let them go by. And while we know that there are prominent female figures in both the Marines and the pirating world, unfortunately, it is definitely like a 90 to 10% ratio here. So if you are a crew that can get men to stop what they're doing, you're pretty powerful. I'm sure by now you've realized I am talking about the Kuja pirates, but these are the Kuja pirates of long ago. Well, we're getting close to less long ago. But this is the time period in which Gloriosa was the captain of the Kuja pirates. And, funny enough, Shaki was her first mate. Yes, the Kuja pirates were capable of getting away with whatever they wanted because, gosh darn it, their captain was just too beautiful to ignore. Even more so than that, though, the first mate was apparently absolutely beautiful. You see the scene where Gloriosa, she's talking to one of her cabin girls, who is actually Tritoma. That is the Empress before Hancock. For those of you who don't know that this is a cool thing, Tritoma was introduced to us in a question corner because we knew Gloriosa was the Empress 2 generations before Hancock. And then we knew Shaki was the generation 2 ago from Hancock after the incident with Blackbeard on Amazon Lily. But somebody asked in a question corner who was the one before that. And that's when Oda just quickly drew Tritoma. And let me tell you, the internet exploded with, oh, this is Luffy's mom theories all over again. Because anytime a female character is introduced in a flashback, it's almost automatically up there. Right up there with Crocodile. The Croco mom theory. Anyways, with this little nod, Tritoma tells her, oh, hey, your latest amount of fan mail came in because obviously the beautiful Empress of Amazon Lily receives a lot of love letters. And she's like, oh, thank you very much, Tritoma. Oh, what is the even bigger pile of letters behind that, though? And Tritoma goes, oh, those are for Lady Shaki. Poor Gloriosa. She's very upset by this. The fact that her, another thing we learn a little bit later in the chapter, Gloriosa and Shaki are actually sisters, which kind of helps clarify the whole multiple Amazon Lily elders before Hancock, because that was something that did confuse me, was if it was Gloriosa, then Shaki, then another Empress, what happened? Did that Empress only last a couple weeks and then die? It turns out opposite. I'll explain this in a moment. So as Gloriosa is lamenting the fact that her sister is more popular than her, they hear that an enemy ship is approaching, and they look over, and Gloriosa's like, oh, I know that flag, it has to be, and yes, it's the Roger Pirates. They are sailing off to attack an enemy ship, going for the spoils of combat, and Roger flat out says they're here to kidnap Shaki. As we learn from, once again, the narration, Shaki was so beautiful in her youth that, well, actually, she's still pretty beautiful today. I mean, have you seen her? Anyways, she was so beautiful that flowers wilted in her presence and birds forgot how to sing. I mean, even Hancock doesn't have that. So apparently being the most beautiful woman in the world is just something that comes with being an Empress of Amazon Lily. And I'm going to get in here before the comments of, oh, Oda only draws one body type for women. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. This time, Gloriosa, Shaki, they both look a lot like Hancock in terms of body. But I will give argument that their faces look very different, and I really do like how this turned out. Well, anyways, so the Roger Pirates come to attack, Shaki comes out, and just between the amount of beauty before them, the Roger Pirates get their teeth kicked in. Like, Gabon gets kicked, Roger gets knocked to the ground, a few of the other crew members start fighting amongst themselves. Mind you, this is before Shanks was a member of the crew, so we don't have young Shanks and Buggy trying to get away with anything, though I'm sure they both would probably try to flirt with Totoma. Regardless, though, as Roger lays defeated on the ground, he just looks up at her and he says, I love you, Shaki. And she looks down and she says, aw, Roger, I love you too. But I'm never going to be with someone else. I am always gonna, I'm looking out for number one. I'm always gonna be single. And as she stands up, she looks over at Rayleigh and she says, man, Rayleigh, I don't know how you deal with this, because apparently, despite the chaos of beauty in front of him, Rayleigh has managed to keep his cool. He is the Roanoa Zorro of this crew, if I've ever seen a man. And he just kind of shrugs. He's just like, yeah, I'm surrounded by idiots. I don't even know where to go from here. Then, this is actually kind of cool, she winks at him. And even he doesn't know what to do with that information. He kind of just, okay. And then she goes about, she tells the crew, okay, let's steal everything they've got, go into their ship's hold, take their treasure. And Roger's like, oh, come on, you could at least leave us with food. She's like, nah, take even the food, don't leave a crumb. It is kind of cute that apparently, despite all the men in the world chasing after her, she goes for the one guy that's not interested in her. That's kind of cool, kind of cute. But before the Kuja Pirates have the opportunity to rob everything the Roger Pirates own, another enemy ship attacks. And who is this enemy, you may ask? As Roger gets up, he's like, okay, get the love sickness gone. Okay. All right, everybody. Try to save our treasure, I guess, but let's get out of here. There's a marine ship coming. Yes, it is a marine ship. And that's when they hear the sound of Garp's laughter. And Roger says, whoa. On second thought, drop everything. We're going to go fight Garp, because Roger and Garp always fight each other. And they have a clash, and we actually see them both take quite the lumps in these punches. You know, usually when we see these legendary figures go at it, like when Whitebeard and Shanks clashed, or when Lin and Kaido clashed, you know, we see the sky split in half. We see both of them furious looks on their faces as they come in for incredibly powerful attacks. No, Roger's got like this goofy look on his face as he's been punched in the face, and Garp's, you know, been punched in the gut, or actually sword slashed in the gut, but, you know, armament hockey and all that. But the two of them are in their doofy youths here. They are not the legendary individuals that they are now. They're just a couple of men in their 20s just punching each other for the sake of punching each other. So, as everything ends and, you know, the Kuja Pirates are sailing away, we actually see Gloriosa start to fall ill. See, during all the shenanigans with Shaki flirting with Rayleigh and all that, Gloriosa points out to Roger, why are you interested in her? Don't you see, like, I'm right here in front of you. I'm the person whose affections you should be wanting. And she falls ill to lovesickness. Now, We know that this is a fatal disease that affects the women of Amazon Lily. We also know the only cure is spending time with that person. So, however it happens, we do know later on, because of the God Valley incident, that Gloriosa does become a member of Rox's crew. So I don't know if that's because her love changes, or if maybe just being with Rox is enough for her to know that she'll see Roger again. Kind of like how Hancock didn't need to, like, marry Luffy or anything. It was just the act of going to Impel Down and helping him was enough to cure her lovesickness. Which is probably why Gloriosa knew that, you know, doing this small deed, well, small deed is a strong word, but doing this deed for Luffy would be enough to cure her, because going out to sea with Rox was enough to cure hers. Regardless, though, Gloriosa does fall ill to lovesickness, and we do see the narrator explain that Shaki took over soon after, and her beauty and her sought-afterness skyrocketed. The Kuja pirates were just constantly bombarded by love letters and people trying to take photos, and apparently even their wanted posters were super sought-after pieces of memorabilia. So, I can't blame them. Amazon Lily is literally known as the island of women, where beauty is power. Like, it is what it is. So, yeah, they were quite the terror. Remember, Suru was just getting started in the Marines, so there weren't really a lot of powerhouse women yet. But enough about beautiful pirate women, let's talk about beautiful giant women. As we head back to Elbaf, where we learn that in recent events, Loki decided to get a boat, start sailing out to sea, and capsized, and almost drowned. Yeah. In fact, due to Loki's shenanigans, a few of the giants were admitting to the king that, look, we know he's your son. We know he's the Prince of Elbaf. We know that he is an individual. But man, we were really debating just letting him drown. Like, I mean, come on. The problem almost solved itself. What do you want us to do? And Harold's just like, yeah, I mean, he did choose to get on a boat. He did choose to sail off. I'm not saying what he does is right, and I'm not saying what you did is right, but I can't keep an eye on him 24/7, so he is the result of his own actions at this point. The ship captain, or the giant captain, he looks like a mariner of some sort. Him and Harold both get scolded by Ida, who I absolutely love this woman. I am so sad that she is a mother figure in a One Piece flashback, because this gem of a person is probably not making it to the end of the flashback. Ida even goes as far as to, after scolding the two of them, tell them, listen, Loki lost his mother, his father's never around because he's saving the world by, uniting everyone together. It's clear that he's just lonely. Loki, why don't you just come live with me in Harden? To which, immediately Loki and Harden are just like, no, do not want, because Loki hates her. Loki hates Harden. He just sees her as a gold digger who just wants to live in the castle. Harden obviously is insulted by this. He tries to attack Loki. The two of them are duking it out, and Ida's just like, aw, look at the two of them. They really are brothers. They're so cute. Ida, please don't die. Oh God, she's gonna die, isn't she? But this is only the first of Loki's escapades, his attempts to go out to sea. He vows, on that day in particular, that he is going to go out to sea and live free like Rox. And he attempts to. Every single time Rox came to Elbaf to try and recruit Harold, Loki would offer to join the crew. He'd say, listen, you just gotta let me. Look at me. I'm already taller than most of your crew. I already hit like a freight train. Just let me join your crew, please. And Rox is just like, nah, I want your dad. Come on, Harold, it'll be fun. And Harold's just like, no, I'm trying to not be a pirate. I'm trying to not tear the world upside down. And Rox is just like, man, tearing the world upside down would be so cool. You could come do that. No? Okay, I'll ask you next time. It's safe to assume that eventually Loki does set out to sea, because I would guess that his defeat at the hands of Shanks is the reason Shanks becomes an emperor, but it's only going to be a matter of time before we see whether or not that's true. Talking about emperors segues us very nicely into the last part of this chapter, which, we had this nice little 3-act structure going on here. Meanwhile, on Pirate Island, it's pretty rowdy here. And remember, this is before there was even like an actual pirate government set up. That's kind of weird to say. We finally get to see the face of Silver Axe Kyo. We didn't know his name was Kyo, we just knew his title was Silver Axe. We also learned that he used to be a mercenary rather than a pirate, and he was the rival to Shiki, the Golden Lion. So Silver Axe, Golden Lion, you know, it kind of blends together. I wonder if there's going to be a bronze member of Rox's crew. We do find out that Rox has a catfish fishman in his crew. The guy's named Barbell. I think he's pretty cool looking. But with Silver Axe joining this crew, we see that effectively Rox's full crew is officially together. We see Newgate, we see Lin, we see this catfish fishman, we see Captain John Strusen. They're all together. They're all here, and Rox finally starts his plan. Apparently his first plan, though, is to open some windows and let some light in. Rox's attack is the reason why Hachinosu has those two giant eyes in the skull-shaped rock. He blasted those open just to make a nice view for himself and let some air in. You know, very, very good for the feng shui, as one would say. But as Rox is explaining his grand plan, he tells his crew, okay, now that I've got you all gathered together, there are 2 steps to this plan. Step 1, there are 2 devil fruits I need to get my hands on, one of which is only going to be useful, is only going to have its true potential unlocked if Harold eats it and joins our crew. So we got to work on that. That's probably the hardest part, is the 2 fruits and then getting Harold to eat it. Captain John brings up, okay, and the next step is finding the Galila Company, right? Not Galila, because they won't be founded for another few decades. This is the Galila Company, or if I'm pronouncing it right, maybe it's the Galea Company. But it's the shipwright giants that went missing a while back and were allegedly captured by the Marines. Lin has been using her information network and so far hasn't heard anything about frozen giants. This is probably going to be true for the rest of the flashback, considering we saw those frozen giants on Punk Hazard. Unless that is a different group of frozen prisoners, I would probably doubt that, though. As they're talking, Newgate brings up a point that even if we did find them, they're frozen, so they're probably dead. And, of course, Rox says, whoa, hang on, we're talking dreams here. There's got to be a way to bring back the dead. Technically right, with the shadow fruit. Strusen then brings up a point of, even if we did revive these guys, what makes you think they're going to listen to you? To which Rox brings up the point, well, if the King of the Giants is in our crew, then of course they're going to listen to us. Easy, duh. And then Kaido brings up the point of, hey, why not just make them join? Why not just make them do it? You're clearly strong enough. You made Lin join, you made me join, you got Newgate, you got Stussy somewhere. I actually didn't see her in this chapter. But you have us. And you got us through sheer brute force, so why not just make them listen? Actually, while you're at it, why not just make Harold listen to you? Just force him to join the crew. We'll just take over Elbaf. Rox didn't like that. In fact, Rox slams Kaido as hard as he can, and he tells him, he says, listen here, little boy, if you ever make a suggestion like that again, I'm going to take you out. You're just going to be gone. Because Harold is my friend, and I will not make my friend join my crew. I will just invite him, and then he will join, because we're friends. Dang it, Rock, stop making me like you. Like, I'm sorry, the whole kidnapping Shaki idea kind of lost some points, Roger. You lost some points there. I'm not a fan of kidnapping. But Rox, you actually being against kidnapping. This is an interesting dynamic. We're seeing Roger become the man that all his friends knew he was, and maybe we're witnessing the descent of Rox into madness and evil. I mean, his goal is to flip the world already, but his goal is also not to rule the world forever. So, I don't know. Honestly, I'm with Vegapunk on this, you know? At this point in history, it's hard to tell the good guys from the bad. So just witness the events and make a decision at the end. But now for the big part of this. The chapter ended, but I want to go rewind a little and talk about Rox's plan involving 2 devil fruits. One of the fruits requires an ancient giant to eat it. Does it require an ancient giant, or is it just Harold? Because if it's an ancient giant required to eat it to really bring out its full potential, I can't help but wonder if it's the legendary fruit of Elbaf, the one that Loki ate. Unfortunately, we still haven't seen Loki's power because he still has Sea Prism cuffs on him. And until somebody takes those off, we're kind of at an impasse there. We don't know what that power is. We don't even know if it's the one Rox was after. What is that fruit, though? That is the real question. And personally, I think it's the real Gum Gum fruit. I'm going to still defend that theory of mine. I think what happened was this fruit that turns a person to rubber got eaten at some point in the past by the giants. One giant lost his life before he could unlock its full potential, before he could awaken it. And as it got reincarnated, another giant who knew what it looked like before the giant ate it instantly assumed that that was the human fruit model Nika. However, Luffy ate the human fruit model Nika, and we know 2 devil fruits can exist. 2 users of the same power can exist because of Vegapunk science, which won't happen for decades, so don't factor that into this. But the Paramecia Gum Gum fruit might actually exist. The reason it's never been documented is because it's always been in the hands of the giants, outside the purview of the world government and whoever wrote the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia. So my guess is when Loki ate the legendary fruit of Elbaf and he saw his arm stretch, he didn't put any more thought into it. See, we know through legend that Nika was a man whose body was made of rubber and he fought however he fancied. If your arm stretched like rubber and you were intimately familiar with the legend of Nika, what more explanation would you need than, oh my gosh, I have Nika powers? When in reality, you probably are just a rubber man. Which is funny considering this whole time we thought Luffy was just a rubber man, but that's another story for another day. The other fruit that Rox is after, I'm not really sure. The only guess I have is maybe it's the dark fruit. Maybe it is the Yami Yami no Mi. Maybe it's the fruit that Blackbeard sought after. He is the son of Zebek. His ship is called the Saber of Zebek. He probably inherited the will of Zebek in order to try and complete what he started. And as a result, Zehaha, the dark fruit was probably the other fruit in Rox's plan. What these fruits have to do with each other, I have absolutely no clue. The sun and the moon, maybe a friend of mine and I have talked about the possibility of a moon-based devil fruit that reflects the sun or counters the sun. Maybe it's something Eam has in store for us. Who knows? I'm still banking on the nightmare fruit for Eam, but that's just me. Regardless, the 2 rising contenders, in my opinion, is the dark fruit and the Nika fruit. But I guess we won't know for another 2 weeks. That's right, we don't have a chapter next week. So, yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think the 2 fruits are, because I think I've got a pretty solid theory here. I'm going to go check other people's videos, get other opinions as always. And if you're that big on lore, maybe you should too. Regardless, thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.